Is your brand going all out on every social media channel there is, but still coming out empty-handed at the end of it all? Have you always wondered how you can generate genuine leads for your business through the power of social media? Join us live this Wednesday for Candid One-on-One as you've never seen it before with Kim Garst, one of the top social media marketing experts in the world, to learn her secret sauce in generating leads through the power of social media. This Wednesday, the 27th of May at 10 a.m. Pacific, only on InVideo.io/you-and-me. Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? And welcome to Just Between You and Me. This is our, what is it, the third, fourth episode? We are rocking and rolling. And we got a great show for you planned today, as Kim Garst is going to be joining us in just a few moments. But before she does, allow me to share with you just some things, a little bit of housekeeping to make sure that we are all on the same page. First of all, we're streaming live to multiple locations here. We're streaming live to several Facebook pages, to YouTube. But if you want to join in one place where the conversation is happening, because the problem with streaming live to multiple platforms is everybody doesn't see everybody else's chat. So the geniuses at InVideo have created a landing page. It's InVideo.io/you-and-me. And if you go there, you can participate in the conversation with everybody, and you can watch all of our episodes of Just Between You and Me at InVideo.io/you-and-me. And as well, all of the replays are there of our previous incredible shows. So that is all there for you. So I invite you to head over there. Now, this next week, just as a quick heads up, next week we have Molly Mulholoney joining us, and that is, we're going to be talking about building an email list from scratch, which if you're not building an email list, I know it sounds old school. It sounds old school, but I'm pretty sure Ms. Garst will agree with me when she comes on in just a few minutes that even though it sounds old school, it's still today. It's something that we all have to do. So that's going to be coming up next week. So make sure that you put this in your schedule. Oh, next week the show is going to be an hour and a half earlier. We had to adjust our schedule slightly. It will be 1.5 hours earlier. But now let's get to the star of the show. Let's get to Kim. I am so looking forward to chatting with Kim Garst. Here we go. I hit it again. I thought I had to turn it. Like the most famous person in social media that I know, Kim Garst.
No way.
Kim,
How are you, Steve?
I am so good. Just so anybody who doesn't know who Kim is recognized as one of the top social media experts on the planet, featured in multiple magazines like Forbes, etc. She has built multiple online businesses, and I would dare say has taught tens of thousands of people to improve their social marketing and social media skills, myself included. So I am thrilled that Kim is joining us today. Kim, how the heck are you doing?
I am doing good. I think that if we could just go out to eat, maybe, and be like regular people, like that would make my world like just make my day, right?
Pick one. You can pick one of two. You can go get your hair done, or you can go out for a meal with friends. Which one are you going to choose?
I think I'm going to go with the friend.
Okay.
As much as I want to get my hair done, because we talked about that before. You need a cut, I need a color. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we work from home. So that piece of it has not really impacted me. I think it's just the fact that we can't go out and do like we would normally do that messes with my mind a little.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm getting my hair cut. I don't like people that much. I get enough of people. I'm a less social creature than you, perhaps. But we've opened the door to talking kind of a little bit about how the pandemic is affecting us, because it's front and center on all of our minds right now. So can you share with me, in our space, in social marketing and social media, has everything changed, or is it subtle, the changes that we're seeing?
I think everything has changed. Regardless of whether your business models have survived or not, although I've seen a lot of business models take a huge hit. I'll just say for my community, a lot of my peeps are business service providers, and a lot of their clients got nervous when all of this happened, and they pulled their contracts, and that left me. Or left them without revenue coming in the door. And so a lot of business models have been forced to pivot, or they have just died on the vine because they were stubborn, and they wouldn't go to something that was different than what they knew. So I think it is absolutely shifted. Even for people whose models have survived, there's still nuances that have absolutely shifted.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that, one of the peculiarities of the pandemic is, for so many of us, or for a lot of our peers, we've seen a lift in business. Have you, like, I've seen it personally on my YouTube channel, in every one of my social platforms, I've seen a lift. And it creates this strange thing. I mean, traditionally, we're taught to lean into it, right? We have some success, and we've all taught this, you teach this, lean into it. If you have success in this channel, go for more, publish more content in that space. This is the time to take advantage of growth. But part of me instinctively says, just put a little bit of a governor on that. Don't go too, we have to avoid being seen as tone deaf. Am I overreacting? Am I being overly cautious?
No, but I think I've just been totally transparent. I've been dealing with it straight up, head on. Every time I go live, I'm like, how y'all doing? What are you struggling with? Even when I pivoted, because I have a small boutique marketing agency, and some of my clients, same thing. They're like, okay, well, we need to put the brakes on until after all this is over. So some of my clients, went by the wayside. But my big thing when all this happened was, how do I step in with the knowledge I have and help the people that I know are struggling? Like I said before, a lot of my peeps are service providers. And I'm like, okay, guys, you all are wicked smart. You've been doing amazing things for your clients. How do you take that knowledge and package it so you can sell it? And so I just stepped into that. So I stepped into a pivot based on service, because I knew my people needed help. And if I didn't help them, who was going to?
So this is one thing that's bothered me with this. And I know what you're doing is absolutely right. I'm doing the same thing. But a little voice in the back of my head says, you were on a path of teaching a certain thing, of building a certain following in a certain marketplace. Don't abandon that completely, because I don't know what normal is going to look like, but at some point we're not going to be in crisis management mode anymore, and we're not going to be in this incredible turmoil, but we're going to be at least in some form of smoother waters. And so it concerns me that, I know that I have almost every time I start anything, I say, in this current state, in the pandemic, just everything, it colors, it's like a pair of glasses that I put on that I see the entire world by, and I am almost unable to process except through that lens. Are you experiencing the same concerns?
Well, for me, the things that I package to help solve a problem are also components of what I'm building. So for me, it just made sense to shave things off and, pull them out of something bigger. But I am in total agreement with you that you shouldn't totally throw the baby out with the bathwater if you are doing certain things that was working.
Term. That's such a terrible term. Has anybody ever done that?
But I guess that's just, I don't know. Is that an old Southern saying? I don't know.
It's a good saying. We use it up here in Canada.
Okay. So, if you've got things that are working. Now, when I say I pivoted in service because I knew people needed certain things. I could see the need. And to your point about how, you've seen an uptick in business and uptick in content consumption. Well, people are home. And people are looking, and there is genies out of the bottle like everywhere now that are never going back in the bottle. So there's a lot of people who had traditional JOBs who lost their JOB, and they're like, I'm not going back to that. That is no longer a security net for me. And so they've spent this time trying to figure out what they're going to do next. What is their side hustle, or what is their main hustle? Or in many cases, people have pivoted to things that have now become their main model, and that won't ever go back either.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting dynamics. I think you have to do what works for you and what feels right for you. Because we are in interesting times. And like I say, especially education, knowledge, that kind of stuff has shifted in a major way through this. And I just don't know if people are going to, even corporations who sent their workforce home have discovered, wow, look at all this money we're saving. And it didn't really decrease our productivity at all. We thought it would. Our productivity has actually increased. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're not going back. I mean, I know that we're not. They recognize how much money they're paying for their square footage for their office space, how hard the commute is on their teams, and they're finding real scales of efficiency that are being found. So yes, there's been some good. I mean, I often hear people. I just did a whole series of interviews with teachers. Community teachers. We're talking about like fitness instructors, dance instructors, music instructors, this sort of stuff. And almost every one of them without fail said, I was looking at doing stuff online, but I hadn't done it. It was on my bucket list sort of thing. And so now that they've been forced to do it, they're all kicking themselves that they didn't start this process earlier, because they're seeing the economies of scale, they're seeing the metrics, they're seeing some advantage. Not saying that it's better than their traditional school environment, but they do see the value, and they wish that they had done it earlier and not had their hand forced. So.
Well, even I think teachers, as another example, many of them, I've just frankly just heard them say, listen, I didn't have all this tech knowledge. I didn't know all these things, but through this journey, they've learned, and they've discovered that so many amazing digital tools out there that enhance their teaching abilities.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, there's going to be a lot of things that are absolutely going to come out on the other side of this in some ways that we are just, they're not changing. They're not going back into the bottle.
When I met you, you were the Twitter luminary. You were like huge on Twitter. You still are. But Twitter is it fair to say that when I met you, Twitter was your platform of choice? That was the platform you leaned into?
I really leaned into, when I first started on social media, gosh, like 2007, I feel like ancient sometimes. I'm like, golly. I decided to do this whole management thing, right? I was like, well, I have to be, in my thinking, and I still think this, by the way, that I need to have a solid platform on all of the social platforms if I'm going to tell other people that I can do it for them, right? If I can build their social platforms, then I have to be, there as well, and demonstrate that I can do it. So I got very active on Twitter. I did fall in love with Twitter. It's just a darn shame what they've done to it, frankly. It's no longer what it was back in the day. It's not as communicative. That word's not rolling up. You don't use it so much for communication anymore. At least it doesn't seem like that for me.
No, it seems to be a pontification platform.
Yeah, it's a broadcast platform. Yeah. It's a media, specifically, it's a media platform, I think. People are absolutely still looking for knowledge there. So I drive a lot of traffic to my blog still, leveraging Twitter, but I don't spend a lot of time talking on Twitter anymore like I used to, simply because it just doesn't work the same way it used to.
And you used to engage in massive conversations. So where has that traffic for you? Where has that engagement with your audience shifted to?
Definitely in a couple of places. Instagram and DMs. I love that because I get a chance to talk. And, you know, one of the things I really like about Instagram is that I can record a voice message and not just type, because the recorded voice, people get to hear the nuances. They get to, you know, it's different than just the text. And it's so much easier, honestly, to engage with people just by recording a voice message, right? Plus, they feel like they still feel special on the other side that you took enough time to record it, right?
Especially since they've gone from the great BlackBerry keyboard to these virtual keyboards that I don't know about you, but I have tremendous trouble with it. Hit the microphone, record my voice, love it.
I love it too. So from that's one place. I find that my live videos, you know, when I go live, my Marketing That Grows Your Business show on Mondays, I love that because I get an opportunity to engage and talk with people. And then outside of that, there's not a lot of opportunity unless you build the opportunities. You know, I think that it is, it's social media has shifted to where it's not just, hey, look at me. It's more like people want to connect, and you have to build the opportunity, the content to allow people to connect around the content. But Facebook groups are another great medium, I think, for true conversation and deeper relationship building than just straight up Facebook.
And in those the algorithm is a little kinder to us as far as the conversation, because once you've started engaging a conversation in the Facebook group, you're notified. They do notify you 100% through on that. So that changes that, because for other things, Facebook still is becoming increasingly frustrating to deal with, but specifically for connection with your community.
Yes. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of leveraging of just small little, again, audio recordings where I can respond to people even inside of my Facebook group.
So you're using video there. I haven't used it as much there, just text, but okay, that's good. That's cool. So are you recording? So are you like recording as a Loom screencast and then uploading it? Is that the way you do it?
Yeah. So like if I'm doing a feedback, for example, because lots of times people will ask me, well, what do you think about this? Or some of my courses now are what I call Done With You, where I'm giving, you know, actual feedback on specific things. And so, yeah, I'll just open up my my browser and, you know, review whatever it is that they had asked me to review, record a Loom video. And you can do it if you're familiar with Loom, but it has the little place down in the corner where they can see you. Or, you know, hey, you haven't done your hair and your makeup. You don't have to show yourself, you know, but they can still hear you, and you can still do a walkthrough of what you're, you know, giving feedback on.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you go to the YouTube channel, our Dottotech, we did a video on using Loom the other day. But but you still have to save it. Oh no, you just drop the link in from Loom.
You just drop the link,
Facebook, and then it resolves through. So very good. So it saves you time. I was worried that you might have to download it first, but no, the link obviously works. Great.
Yeah.
Very cool. So in order of that's kind of come down from you is, first of all, much of your interaction with the community has moved to Instagram, as I think a lot of people are discovering.
Yes.
And then the rest going to Facebook. Do you notice a split in the demographic of the type of people who are talking to you on each platform, or is it pretty homogenous?
For the most part, it's pretty much the same. You know, my person is usually a woman. Although my buyers, interestingly enough, are pretty much a split. But women tend to reach out and converse more than men do, interestingly enough, which is fine. And I would say the real conversations are definitely happening in a Facebook group or in Instagram DMs.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the community building aspect now. So where you used to use Twitter originally, and now you use a lot of Instagram and Facebook for community conversation. What about growing? What about increasing your reach? Do you look at the platforms differently to increase reach as opposed to engage your existing audience?
Well, I think if we're going to be serious about social media, we should have a growth strategy for every social platform that we feel like we get a benefit from. You know, if you are, generating leads on Instagram, then what's your growth strategy? If you are, same with Facebook. So I really feel like, I'll just use Instagram for a quick example. There's a lot of strategies that you could leverage to grow your Instagram following there. Quick example, maybe, paying attention to who follows if you know somebody, a competitor that is serving your person, then see who follows them. Maybe you reach out and start liking and engaging with their content, right? It does take time. Growth of any kind takes time unless you pay for it.
Yeah.
So you either do the time or you pay for it. And I would say that you do the time gives you a higher quality connection than paying for it.
Interesting. That's so doing are the old strategies that we used for community growth still the ones, if you want to do it organically, still the best? Are we talking about just, Gary Vaynerchuk's jab, 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 right hook? Just keep
Absolutely.
delivering value, keep delivering value, keep delivering value?
Always. In fact, you should always lead with value, in my opinion. It's not about us. It's never been about us, but it's even less about us now than it ever has been, because we are, to go back, you brought up Gary Vaynerchuk, and, one of the things Gary says is that we're day traders of time and attention, and that's so true. We basically are competing every second that we are on social, as well as our ideal prospect when they're on social, for their time and attention. And when they give it to us, we should work for it because it's valuable. We should honor it. And so many don't, unfortunately, but it's one of the most valuable commodities that anyone has. And when we give time and attention to someone else, or they give it to us, then that's something incredibly value-based, and we need to serve that.
That is I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's a drum that I beat over and over again. Is there, if you are going to deliver content to people, there's a responsibility on you to deliver valuable content, because if not, you're stealing from them, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that our pursuit of vanity metrics, of the endorphin rush, or whatever that compound is that we get from people giving us a like, or giving us a view, and giving us a watch, whatever we get from that is something that we strive for, instead of our main purpose be delivering value in that time, recognizing and, as you say, honoring the time that they're spending watching you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because you put it in kind of harsh terms that you were stealing from people. But it's true. I mean, if we are not delivering great content, then what could they have done with that time, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
When you get ready to create content as a business owner or an entrepreneur, I don't want you to get so wrapped up in the fact that it has to be like perfect that you don't do anything. You get paralyzed by it. So when we were saying it needs to be great content, the fascinating part about content is that content is not created equally. So what is going to attract your person versus Steve's person could be totally different dynamics. It doesn't have to match Steve's content. What you bring, what Steve brings to the table, and what you bring to the table is totally different. Your person could be 2 or 3 steps behind you, and the content that you're delivering is absolutely value-based to them. So don't get so wrapped up in the perfection of it, you don't do anything.
Yeah. And that's and don't be concerned that other people are in the same lane as you are in, or anything, because there is really no competition online. I mean, everybody says that there's, but I don't believe that there is any competition online. We find our equilibrium, we find our track. Now, you talked about how we should have a growth strategy for each thing, and then we talked about content being delivered into each platform, how important it is to make sure it's rich and valuable content. But we now have to consider, how do I take that content and use it as a conversion mechanism, because it's one thing for me to deliver value to somebody, but it does neither of us any good other than the momentary value that they get, unless we use it to start in creating a relationship. And a relationship still means an old school conversion to me. Does it mean that to you?
And even those are not created equal, right?
Yeah.
Because people, might opt in for something that's free, but they just want your freebie. They may not really have a real relationship with you at that point, which is why don't even bother to have them join your list if you're not going to serve your list. So, you pull one thread and 5 more pops loose, right? So, but I will say this, we don't own our social media followers, our social media fans. And it's not like they wouldn't change things on us and deny us the opportunity to reach our people. Like that would never happen, right? I'm being sarcastic, in case somebody didn't catch that. So I wish that when I started so many years ago that I knew what I know now then. So hopefully if you're just starting, or if you haven't really started moving your followers and your fans from social media to your list, please, please, please do so. Or even at a minimum, send them someplace that you can start to retarget them. That's another opportunity too. But yeah, you do have to, you have to lead people down the path, as Steve said, to a conversion. And there's a variety of touch points that you can do to facilitate ultimately the sale.
Now, and you do a good job of talking about this, because traditionally, like in my mind, I come up with a video that I create that video, and then I go on to the next thing, and I respond to that video a little bit in chat. But I don't think of a strategy around that piece of content. That one piece of value that I deliver, I tend to fire and go on. But you don't teach that. I'm going to share a graphic, and I think this is something that I can learn from. So now it's your coaching, Steve. Don't charge me any extra. But talk to me about this content model that you have, where it's effectively, we're talking about pretty much the same piece of content or the same message through several different elements. Really? Is that a good way to put it?
It is, yes. So basically one of the, and I hate the term funnel because, I'll just give you my little 2 cents here, but I always feel like, you have the top of the funnel up there where, the snackable video piece is. And I always see all these people like just being dumped into the top and, whirling down to the bottom, Yeah. So
like a flush, not necessarily a nice funnel.
Right. But the point is, obviously at the top of your funnel, that's where, the majority of people will have a touch point with that. So snackable videos are things that are 2 to 3 minutes in length usually. And that's something that just solves a problem, like, or a touch point, maybe 3 small ways to do Y or something, right? And you can start to attract people to those videos, or put those videos out on, let's say, Facebook. We'll just use Facebook because we're specifically talking video ads here. And then, you can also turn that into, there's a couple of strategies here. One, you could take that snackable video and then retarget in a video ad, the views, people, you can, and the fascinating part about video ads, Facebook video ads, is that they allow you to target based on time. So if people have looked at it for 3 seconds, well, in my opinion, people that have looked at your video probably 3 to 10 seconds aren't really invested in the video, right? They are just, it could have stopped. They could have, seen it in their feed. So I usually go on and choose, somebody who's watched the video a little longer, because they're probably more my person than if they've spent the time to watch the video longer than that. And then obviously then you put them in front of something for sale. As you go through and continue down the funnel, a percentage of people will watch the original video, the 2 to 3, the snackable video. From there, you can retarget for a video ad that's, again, something for sale. And that leads them to, and a percentage of them will take you up on your offer. So again, smaller numbers at every increment, but you take somebody that's on social media to a sale versus just letting them consume your content and not asking or putting anything that you would have to sell in front of them, which is a huge mistake.
Now you can leverage these campaigns off of your successful content that you create. I know you talk, and we'll probably talk a little bit later about how you choose which piece of content you decide to leverage and you decide to lean into. But out of your normal publishing sequence, you're going to have some videos, some content that has traction. Your audience responds to it. That's what you use as a template for this model. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. And the whole video concept is so powerful because most people are. It's a stunning number. It's like 80%, 86% of social traffic is going to be video by next year. So it's
really,
it's not just coming, it is here. And those of you who are not using video to, one, give great value to your community, but again, take people, if people are interested in your content, they show up, they pay attention to it, you're doing them a disservice, again, by not giving them more and giving them the opportunity to pay for it.
Another time, Kim Garst just says exactly what I'm thinking. You make the effort to create a great piece of content. The algorithm gods aren't going to say, good job, Steve, I'm going to share that. No, it's your job to get it out there once you've created the content. It's like birthing a baby, going back to your baby in bathwater metaphor. That's the easy part. Now we got to raise the damn thing, right? So you've got to nurture your content through. And what you're saying is music to our benefactors' ears here, because InVideo, of course, their entire platform is designed for it to take content, regardless if it's in a blog, a podcast, a post, and convert it into the snackable videos that you're talking about.
Yeah. And something you just said, I want to quote our good friend Ian Cleary. I once heard him say that to not even bother to create content if you didn't have a plan to amplify it. Guys, the reality is that people write blogs all the time, and then they think that somebody's going to bump into it. Like, no, you've got to let people know it's there. And that's on us. And sometimes you can do it for free. In fact, I would say that there are touch points for free, and there are absolutely ways to really leverage paid media in some smart ways that don't cost you an arm and a leg, but get you a real return.
Yeah. And I'm not going to let you get away with that, Kim. If you're going to quote Ian Cleary, you do so with an Irish accent, please.
Oh, golly. Yeah. No, I can't do that.
I don't think Ian could pull off your accent either. So I think you're pretty even as far as that's concerned. Okay, so we talked about strategically that content. I think we've painted a nice picture of that. But let's get into the weeds a little bit with a couple of I think important technical aspects. When you create these snackable videos, how important is doing closed captioning or text overlay, especially when you're on Facebook?
It's like massively important, because most people, I wish I could, don't remember the number, but it's high. It's like in the 80s, maybe even 90s % of people don't hit the play button on videos. They read the captions. Mm-hmm. And think about it. Like, maybe, how do you consume content? Like if you're on Facebook and you're scrolling through your feed and something catches your eye, you don't play it more than likely. I don't. Do you, Steve?
No, but the reason is
catches my eye.
The reason that I don't do it is so twisted, it might make your head spin. I don't want to be retargeted. So I don't indicate the interest because I know too much inside baseball. And it's not that I don't want to be retargeted, because quite often I'm actually interested in it, but I just don't want to become part of the machine. And I know this might be just me, but I don't think I'm that unusual.
Well, actually, no, I don't think you are either, but
not about that.
Yeah, I think it is. The thing about it, when it comes to us as marketers, we have to understand that even though we may not do it exactly like everybody else does, we have to go with the majority, because we're trying to attract the majority of the issues. The majority of the behaviors. So if the majority of people are not hitting the play button, then we're trying to target those people, right? We're trying to get them to consume our content. So from that perspective, we need captions.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we've got a special request. Hoodoo Zed says concrete examples, paid and free, that generates returns, and he's saying, referring to your point of amplification. Can you, maybe from a recent campaign that you're doing, can you give an example of something that, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, something that was free and something that you decided to put funds behind?
Sure. So I recently did a training. It was 9 ways to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And so I, of course, did some of that for free, meaning I put it out on my social platforms and, shared it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. That's the free place, right? Because I have communities there. But then I also put money on it. I ran Facebook ads to it was basically a webinar style training. So there was a landing page. People paid for the training, $27, and I sold stuff directly through paid ads. But I also sold things through my free organic social media communities as well. Send it to my list. I didn't have to pay for that, right? Because I own that, and I do put my list in the free category because I've had that. I don't have to pay for that. So my list and all my social platforms, I consider that organic traffic.
Okay, so this is one of those moments that this show is made for, just between you and me. So just between you and me, here's a product that you built. It says training, but you're only charging $27 for. But you decided, now, did you decide as you envisioned it that you were going to put paid traffic behind it? Had you decided that in advance?
Actually, no. So what I did, because I didn't know, one, I'm not a LinkedIn expert. I've just really got a new fascination with LinkedIn. And the 9 steps was because I went through the process of optimizing my own LinkedIn profile. And once I got LinkedIn Live, I was like, it was my least social media platform and favorite social media platform. And so I'm like, I got to get myself cleaned up over there. And fascinating is the fascinating thing is so many other people need to do that too.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is really resonating with people. So I put it out to my list and my social platforms first. And I found that a lot of people had an interest in it. And that's when I decided to build an entire funnel around it. So basically the way the funnel looks, so you guys can kind of get a feel for what something like this would look like. It's the training, the 27, 9 ways to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And then I have an offer bump, which is increases my cart value. So it was like $37. So it was $27 for the training. $37 was the offer bump. The offer bump was LinkedIn template covers. So my thinking was, what gives people that transformation? If they're trying to optimize their profile, they need to know all the 9 steps, but they also need a cover image for their profile. So I have an offer bump of $37 for those templates for their covers, their cover images, and then I'm selling them into my Business Builders Academy. Okay. So that's what the funnel looks like in its entirety.
So it sounds to me, though, like you're serving a couple of masters with this, because once you've decided to deliver you created the content and you put a very low price point on it, probably more just for the intent of the people coming in to make sure that they paid attention to the content and actually learned, rather than it being a massive moneymaker for Kim. But then you saw there was traction. So you said, okay, now what can we do with this? So you took advantage of the opportunity. You leaned into the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Then you figured out a couple of ways to make it worthwhile for you financially, and you put paid traffic behind it. But really, is that paid traffic to get the offer bump to pay for itself, or to get the lead for your more expensive product online? Is this not really, at the end of the day, is it not really just a really elaborate and efficient, cost-efficient lead generation funnel for your main offering?
It's yes and no. So yes, it is. So like normally you lead off with something free, right? And then that's what a traditional 3-step funnel is: free, low cost, to something more expensive. I'm skipping the free. I'm going right for the ask. So it's $27, $37, $77, or $97, depending on the price point that we're charging for my Business Builders Academy. But this is the key. My Business Builders Academy is a monthly continuity program. So I get that money month after month after month. And on the average, people will spend, 6 to 8 months with me. So that ends up being a pretty, this funnel is actually pretty profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it makes total sense to me. I love the kind of the way that you've manufactured your own funnel based on knowledge of your community and opportunity to drive to the end. Because that's the thing. I think there are no hard and fast rules. We all have to learn the principles and then apply these principles to our own unique situation. And so this concept of basically having paid traffic against it, but is I think it's just a great example to follow. But there's another thing. We talked very briefly before we went on air about something, which is you're finding that people are buying too much content now and they aren't consuming the content that they're buying. And I think to a certain extent, and that obviously that impacts us with trying to give out free content because they've got all the stuff they paid for before they want to consume ours. So the idea of charging a small fee for your introductory trainings, that has to have some other kind of psychological effects to increase the value of that content. Because you could have gone either way. That 9-step program, 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, that's a list builder, I'm going to give it away for free. But you created, whether or not you created a extra illusion of value by charging.
See, that's the difference. And this is why this is so fascinating is most people don't understand what a true offer is. I use this example quite frequently. If I'm selling a weight loss supplement that I want to charge $59.97 for, and somebody else is selling that same weight loss supplement on Amazon for $19.97, how in the world am I going to be competitive with that?
Yeah.
You have to build value around that offer. So maybe you have a weight loss calculator, or maybe you have some recipes, maybe you have an ebook that gives them strategies and tips around losing weight. So when people stack it up against, that offer up against the $19.97 offer on Amazon, they're like, look at all this other stuff I get. I'm going to absolutely pay $59.97. It's the same with Nordstrom or Macy's. They've got the same dress, right? But on Macy's, the dress is just $99. Over on Nordstrom, they have the dress for, 20% off and free shipping. Well, which dress are you going to buy? So an offer is the perception of increased value. And that's what I did. And it's bigger than just that too, because one of the things you have to understand is the transformation people are seeking. So I was going after one transformation, totally just one, which was to help them optimize their LinkedIn profile. I'm not teaching them everything about LinkedIn. One thing, and it's doable. To go back to your thing before, I think that information courses these days are so robust, and I'm not knocking that, by the way. I'm just saying you log in and you're overwhelmed day one. So how can you take nuggets of what you know and give transformational pieces, package transformational pieces for people versus trying to give them the whole thing, which is very undoable for so many people.
Yeah. Oh, that's why we need you here to explain it to us.
Well, I've had to learn this, this is not something that's natural. So do not feel like if you're listening right now that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do what she just said to do. Yes, you can. You just have to do it in bite sizes. Snackable pieces, break it down.
One thing I've always been impressed with your content strategy is what you just said, is you do walk the walk. You break your content down into one thing and you create your posts and your support in content around developing one skill, making it easy for people to know what they're clicking on. I respect that. How do you decide what's next? What sort of research do you do? How do you come up with your story ideas or your feature ideas?
Well, you've probably heard the old saying that sometimes the blind squirrel finds the nut, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that. Literally. Sometimes it's like, I will say just real quick that I feel like that's what the nine LinkedIn steps to optimizing your profile was, because I did it for myself. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe other people would want to know this. So sometimes I test things, but I will also say that I know my ideal client or customer is a previous version of me.
There you go.
So
that is so important. Yeah.
I know them, I get them, I feel them, I've been them. And that part of it does make it easier for me to kind of look at things and say, yeah, I think they would resonate with this, or yeah, I think they need this.
So they're basically, your avatar is you before the roots have grown out.
Yeah, yes.
But that is, and so often, I mean, and this is why going back to the very beginning of our conversation today, talking about how you engage with your audience on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. It's the conversations we have. They don't necessarily always go, oh, here, they asked for this, I will write it down. It's how we intuit. It's how we understand our community. And so I think that for me at least, and I'm pretty sure for you, a lot of the stories come to us unbidden. We're sitting there thinking, what can I be talking about? And it's just as a result of the general conversations, and as you say, what you are dealing with at the moment, that tends to be a great model, because the search algorithms haven't caught up with what's really important yet.
Yeah. And, if you listen, I mean, and sometimes just ask, I mean, I think that is one of the most infrequently used strategies. Just find out, just have conversations with people. And sometimes, I've done this a couple of times where if I'm in a conversation with somebody on Instagram, for example, I'm like, hey, would you like to jump on Zoom and let's just talk?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just have conversations with people in your community so that you can hear them. And, we've been going through this whole rebranding thing, and sometimes just the conversations themselves, the brainstorming, the one thing comes out of the bigger thing. You spend 2 hours like brainstorming and you come up with the one thing, right? And it's the same thing with people. Like, they'll say things and they'll be like, this is my struggle. And if you talk to 5 to 10 people, you're going to hear some of the same things. And once you'll find common themes, and then you'll find the problem. And then how do you solve the problem?
What's your content schedule look like? How often do you release a new hero piece of content? And then what's your repurposing plan? Like, obviously you break it down in snackable bits and that, but what does that kind of look like if we looked at a calendar week or a month?
Yeah, basically my biggest strategy right now from a content perspective is my Facebook Live show. I call it the Facebook Live show, but we're live in multiple platforms, just like we are, here right now. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope. Periscope is, I would say, arguably which everybody I think thinks it's dead. It ain't. I'm just gonna say it ain't. That's my Southern lingo coming out there. And
you're saying that dog still hunts?
Yeah, that dog does still hunt. Yeah, I mean, in fact, it's from a number perspective. I get way more people on Periscope than any of the other platforms.
What year is it?
I know, right?
Okay.
I mean, I did just as a quick example. I think one of the most popular ones was the TikTok one, which makes sense because a lot of people are interested right now in TikTok. But there was 1,200 people on that from Periscope. So yeah, right. So Periscope is not dead. There's a lot of people consuming content there. I think that's a fascinating dynamic that I had kind of thrown out. But anyway, circling back. And then I'm repurposing that content. So I'm taking the transcript and we're, writing a true blog around the content, not just the transcript. We're doing, pulling, quotes that the speaker says that just are zingers. That's what I call them. And, we're creating visual content out of that. We're parsing up the video into snippets, answering the questions primarily. So if I ask a question, then we'll pull that from the question to the answer out and then use that on IGTV and YouTube and other places. So that is my primary focus right now, is not creating more content, but really focusing in on creating a great piece of content and then leveraging the heck out of it.
There you go. So leveraging it. That's, we're only 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. So I've got to start wrapping things up and getting all of the things that we have to get in. But I'm only halfway through the questions that I had planned for you. So Kim Garst, you're going to have to come back on the show.
All right, let's do it. Right? This has been fun. It's hard to believe it's already over.
But I want, first of all, I'm going to go into some quick snacks in just a moment of zingers for us. But tell us about your school briefly, quickly, and how people can get engaged.
The Business Builders Academy is basically a collection of what I call mini courses, where you can just pick something like a small transformation, go through the content, and come out on the other side with something that's complete, instead of just dumping, doing the brain dump and trying to figure it all out and all the pieces. So it's broke down into snackable things. There's a lot of additional resources, et cetera, in there, a Facebook group, a community. I think the community, honestly, is probably the most valuable piece, because you have that connection with other people just like you. But you can absolutely get involved with the Business Builders Academy at any point in time. We'd love to have you. It is a monthly continuity program, but you can come for a month, stay, leave when you want. And
you're increasingly doing these lessons done with you, where you're actually guiding the people through the projects, which moves things slower, but it has far more traction as far as the stickability of the content.
What I'm finding and why I'm loving the done with you model is that when we're trying to help people and we put courses together, we are basically, it's not that the content's not solid. It's there. If they go through it and they do all the pieces and the parts, then they'll come out on the other side with the transformation they're seeking. But the problem becomes when they get lost somewhere, or they don't do it because there's no timeline, right? And then before they know it, they forget they're logged in and, oh, phooey, I didn't need to do that anyway, right? But the done with you model feeds my soul. Honestly, as a creator and somebody who's truly wanting to make an impact, because I'm seeing people do the work. I'm working with them to get the work done. I'm giving them feedback, and it's so amazing to see people actually get stuff done. And, the big thing is, and I really focus in on letting people know that don't stress over the perfection of it. Right, Steve? Can you remember your first video? It was just gosh awful, more than likely, right?
That was fantastic.
So, but the point of it is that if they can learn the steps, they can rinse and repeat, just like we've had to do. And iterations, it's all in the iterations. And the perfection comes.
Awesome. So that is, what's that term? What do they say? Done is better than perfect, right?
Yes.
That's all. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. I've got a few quick things that I have to get through with you. I'm a tools guy.
Yes.
I can't talk. What are your tools? What are your go-to tools for? Are you ready? Just quick. Live streaming. What are you using for live streaming?
StreamYard.
What we're using here right now. Social media management.
Agorapulse.
Agorapulse, another good friend of the show.
Yes.
Your analytics. Do you do any social media analytics? Are you using a tool? Or are you using Agorapulse for that too?
We use Agorapulse, but we also do Google Analytics, with UTMs and stuff like that too.
Do you have a content planning tool?
Monday.
You are using Monday. I see you. Your ads are running before all of my videos. Thank you, because I'm making lots of money on AdSense from Kim Garst videos before every Steve Dotto video. It's awesome.
It's amazing.
What about
Monday
static graphics? Static graphics,
probably easel.
Okay. Video, creating video.
InVideo. You know, InVideo.io, I just discovered them at Social Media Marketing World and loving them. We have totally transformed everything from another tool to them. Just so much easier, frankly, so much cheaper. Let's just get real with it. And the team there is just incredible too. I mean, the customer service is just amazing.
They are making the effort. That's why we're partnering with them, and that's why we're happy to work with them. Okay, so that's our toolkit. Now this is my guilty pleasure, and I'm going to make it pretty quick. But a lightning round, and everybody hates the lightning round. You should have seen Mark Schaefer whine when I said we're going to have a lightning round. It was pathetic. He was like he curled up in a little fetal ball. But it's not that bad. I just want to hear 1 or 2 word responses to some of the most influential terms of our day. So are you ready, Kim?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Influencer marketing.
Money.
Digital health.
Did you say digital health?
Digital health. Yeah.
Help. Oh, VA.
Okay. No, health. Health. As
in health. Oh, digital health. Oh, Band-Aid.
Band-Aid. Conferences.
In person?
You can do more than 1 word.
Oh, I was just
I want your take on what's happening. Emotionally, how you react to it.
Okay. So conferences, I think conferences in the near future, in-person conferences are dead, but I'm seeing a lot of amazing things happen with virtual conferences.
Zoom.
Wow. Zoom is the benefactor of COVID.
Big time. Privacy.
There is none.
Trust.
We need to build it.
Bots.
Use them judiciously.
Amplification.
Absolutely.
You almost swore. I've never seen she would never swear. Man, you had my attention though. Facebook Messenger rooms.
I haven't been too impressed yet.
Facebook avatars.
They don't look like me.
They don't look like anybody. Nobody looks like them. They are awful. That's it. I'll leave it there. Okay. I got you started off on the wrong thing. Kim, this has been amazing. You're such a gift to your community. I know that your tribe follows you and loves you, and I love you. You are a big help to me as I started my career, and I would not be where I am without your sage advice. So it's awesome for me to sit here and talk to you as a peer. Yeah. When I've looked at you so often as a mentor. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And back at you. I loved watching you evolve and bloom and do amazing things. Very, very cool to see your evolution.
Thanks so much. Kim Garst. Check her out. All of the links are below. You are going to, if you're just consume her and everything she does. Thanks so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to let you guys know quickly, just before we leave about next week's show. Oh, you're going to like next week too. This week was good. And I'm going to tell you right now that Molly Mahoney has big shoes to fill, but she may well be one of the people that are capable of filling them. We're going to be talking about building your email list from scratch. This is super practical. This is down in the weeds. This is going to be a live stream that will help you. And every time you invest in your list, every bit of energy you put in now pays dividends for years to come. So we're going to be talking about building your email list from scratch next week right here on Just Between You and Me. My thanks to the team at InVideo who make this all happen, and also to Liz Azian, who is on my team, who helps out with the show. I've really enjoyed that conversation. I hope you did as well. See you all next week. Till then, have fun storming a castle.